At sunrise, my office laptop refreshed the payroll sheet and one red line screamed, ACH transfer, $397,842. 16. Nearly $400,000 vanished. 2 decades of savings gone in a single keystroke. I'm Mark Benson, Senior Actuary at Tampa Mutual, a man paid to turn chaos into decimals. Today the decimals turned on me. The routing code pointed south, not to Teresa's Manhattan Design Summit, but to a beachfront bank in Sarasota. Before the kettle even clicked, I did 3 things. Froze every shared card. Printed the transaction. Started a private countdown, less than 48 hours until my son's graduation and the bank's foreclosure notice. Phil's storage locker smelled of dust and motor oil. Inside an $80 Mosler safe waited a thumb drive that never lies. 6 months ago I'd slipped a GPS tracker behind Teresa's taillight. Every ping fed into this drive. The map showed all-night idles at Sea and Sun Resort, room service orders, spa charges, oysters she once swore she hated. Another name surfaced, James Gregory Holloway, the yacht builder who installed her dream kitchen. Storm clouds bruised the Gulf as I pulled into the resort lot. A silver Lexus RX sat in a VIP slot, windshield sticker Oakmont Golf Club, same logo on Holloway's business card still stuck to our fridge. Under the wiper, folio for a 2-night penthouse, billed to J. G. Holloway. I ordered an espresso at the lobby bar and watched the elevator. Minutes later Teresa stepped out in the turquoise dress I bought for our 20th. Holloway followed. Their laughter died when she caught my reflection in the mirror behind the bottles. I raised my cup, no words. Rage is noisy, leverage is silent. Back in the truck I spoke into my recorder. File suspicious activity report. Draft subpoenas for resort cameras. Stake out Holloway's bungalow tonight. Rain hammered the windshield. Halfway to Tampa an unknown number texted. Where are you? Your boy's school gets out in 10. Attached photo, Teresa's black SUV idling by the bleachers. Tracker data insisted the SUV was still in Sarasota. Someone else had the keys. I floored the accelerator. A second text followed. You have 1 hour to meet, or he rides south with us. I called Alex, straight to voicemail. The high school curb appeared through sheets of rain. Teresa's SUV idled exactly where promised. The driver's seat was empty. Alex's graduation robe lay folded on the passenger side. He never folds anything. The phone vibrated again. Wrong car, Mark. Right game. Clock's still ticking. A red laser dot skimmed the field and paused on my chest before vanishing. Heart pounding, I crouched behind the door, thumb drive clenched like a trigger. Final message. Bring the drive. Alone. You know the place. Of course I did, the Sea and Sun penthouse. I slammed the door, dropped the truck in gear, and charged into the storm. Somewhere ahead a suite waited with answers, and maybe my son. The traffic light at the highway's end will blink once. After that only one of us turns back. The traffic light at the end of Bayshore flickered once, a signal they expected me to follow south toward Sarasota. I turned west instead, gaining 15 minutes of confusion on their side. Rain hammered the windshield. Wipers clawed like a metronome set too fast. I spoke into the dash recorder for the future prosecutor. I said, Rule 1, never drive straight to a ransom point. Rule 2, strip their eyes before they strip your leverage. 8 blocks from the high school my brother Phil rented a rust-flaked warehouse that smelled of brake fluid and nostalgia. He sat on a dented toolbox, thumbs drumming a torque wrench. He said, sounded bad on the phone. Ramp's yours. I replied, bad pays overtime. The borrowed SUV rolled onto the lift. I slid underneath with a penlight. A black puck no larger than a bottle cap clung to the differential, first tracker. A magnet pop, then into a Faraday bag. Phil said, back up? I replied, always. We found the second bug disguised as a tire pressure sensor, still blinking red. Both went into the copper-lined cage. Trackers in hand, I called Ike Navarro, A basement hacker whose freedom I once saved with math. He answered on the first ring. He said, "If it pings, I'll sing." "Bring toys." I replied. 10 minutes. Ike's lair glowed cerulean from 4 curved monitors splashing code like rain on glass. He slit the Faraday bag, bridged each device through a data vampire he called Frankenstein's spleen, and whistled. He said, "Good news, they log every waypoint before upload. Bad news, their sims bounce through spoof towers." "Military grade," I replied. "No grade still bleeds when the clock runs out." The breadcrumb trail formed a lopsided triangle: school curb, resort marina, and a shuttered cannery squatting on the industrial flats. Holloway's yacht ties pointed to the marina, but the cannery's concrete husk smelled like a hostage pen. I said, "Flag the cannery. Feed me door plans and inside cams." I dumped CCTV backdoors onto a burner phone and pressed the handset into my palm. He said, "Don't let the battery die. It's your only eye in there." 30 minutes had already bled from the 1-hour ultimatum. On the drive east, the unknown number pinged. Unknown said, "Half an hour left. South Channel Road." Headlights off after the drawbridge. I let the message hang unread. Even the notification bubble can sweat an impatient kidnapper. Rain eased into a gray mist. The cannery rose ahead, concrete monolith, corrugated panels shivering in wind. I killed the engine a block away and advanced on foot along a rotted loading dock. Ike's feed popped to life on the burner, crane bay, mezzanine office, break room. In the break room, a single LED lantern haloed a folded graduation robe, Alex's size, draped on a swivel chair. A Sea and Sun keycard dangled beside it, trophy and taunt. Inside, water dripped through roof holes, each splash a ticking clock. I crept behind conveyor carcasses to the mezzanine stairs. A voice boomed through a cheap PA speaker. He said, "Thumb drive first, Father of the Year." Teresa answered brittle. She said, "Just take it and let us go." He laughed. He said, "Us?" "You were a passcode and lipstick." Halfway up, I peeled a nano tracker sticker from my wallet, pressed it beneath the thumb drive shell in my pocket. One dot they couldn't jam. A text ping from the cloned resort number. Champagne sunrise package arriving in 15 minutes. Holloway planned a victory toast. I crested the stairs. Lantern light rimmed his shoulders. Teresa stood 3 paces left, mascara washed into spiderwebs. She opened her mouth, but I raised a palm. I said, "He wants to drive, he gets it." I slid the device across a metal desk. The clang echoed like a starting pistol. Holloway jammed it into a tablet strung over his shoulder. I flicked a silent broadband jammer. His screen froze. He spun, fury bright. He said, "What did you do?" I replied, "Introduced a rounding error." He reached for the pistol printing beneath his blazer. Teresa blocked him. She said, "No guns, James." He barked a laugh. He said, "Promises are for actuaries." The nano tracker pinged Ike. My burner flashed location locked. Evidence secure. I said, "Clock's still running, James? You know what happens at 0. He said, "Yeah." Darkness. He lunged. I rammed him into the railing. The pistol clattered 2 stories down. Below us, the robe fluttered in lantern breeze like a body refusing gravity. Sirens chorused outside, first a resort delivery van's reverse alarm, then the deeper howl of unmarked IRS Suburbans Ike had tipped. Holloway's eyes widened, but his grin held. He said, "You think blue lights mean rescue?" Metal clanged below, hired muscle scrambling. Bullets cracked, ricocheting sparks. I yanked Teresa toward a ladder. Rain hissed through the open service hatch. She said, "Is Alex alive?" I replied, "We're finding out now." We stumbled onto a gangway over the channel. Trucks skidded to a halt beyond the fence. Agents in Kevlar poured toward every door. My phone vibrated. Unknown number. One new message pulsed on screen. "Wrong hostage. Your son is next." The message seared my retinas. "Wrong hostage. Your son is next." Rain needled the gangway. Teresa shivered in a soaked turquoise dress, and the IRS agents below shouted for us to come down. I pocketed the phone, thumb still trembling from the text. I said, "They never planned to trade Alex here." This was distraction. She said, "Then where is he?" I replied, "Where the money hides, follow the cash, find the boy." 2 agents hustled us through the loading dock into an unmarked Suburban that reeked of wet Kevlar. Lead Investigator McIntyre, broad shoulders and bureau calm, slid in opposite. He said, "Your tip about Holloway's laundering checked out, but we walked into crossfire. Contractors missing, 2 goons cuffed." I replied, "He still needs an offshore exit. Track any wire larger than 50 grand from his shell companies in the last 48 hours. McIntyre tapped a tablet. He said, "One transfer stands out, 75,000 to a crypto exchange in Belize, interface logged by an IP routed through Pinellas County." I said, "Pinellas holds Sundown Marina. Holloway's yacht project sits there." Lightning unveiled the skyline. I said, "Drop us at Tampa Mutual. I need remote banking privileges." He said, "Why?" I replied, "To bait a hook Holloway can't ignore." In the carrier's hum I turned to Teresa. She said, "I never touched that tracker." I didn't know about Alex. I said, "Ignorance costs, confession discounts. Make it quick." She said, "Holloway promised to reinvest our savings. He used a holding company called Cobalt Tides." I signed blind. I replied, "That signature just became your alibi. Use it." The Suburban slid beneath the copper awning of Tampa Mutual after midnight. Security recognized my badge and the agent's stares opened doors faster than key cards. In the actuarial bullpen I logged into Treasury controls, guided by muscle memory. 10 keystrokes rerouted my remaining retirement fund, 131,000, to Cobalt Tides memo line. Final tranche. McIntyre watched, brow raised. He said, "That's real money." I replied, "Holloway sees fresh bait, he surfaces." And I planted a digital die pack. Any attempt to move those funds lights up FinCEN and triangulates location within 4 seconds. The die algorithm pulsed on my monitor like a waiting heart. 5 minutes. 10. On minute 12 the screen flared crimson. Alert! Withdrawal request originated from mobile device at Sundown Marina, slip 47. I whispered, "Gotcha." The die packet piggybacked a backdoor ping, streaming GPS coordinates every second. McIntyre barked orders into his radio. Tactical boat, drone overhead, ground team on slip approach. Teresa gripped the desk. She said, "Alex is there?" I said, "Or leverage to trade for the transfer." Either way we ended at the slip. Convoy lights sliced the darkness as we roared across Bayfront Bridge. Drone feed blinked on McIntyre's tablet. Infrared rendered the marina in ghostly white. Slip 47 hosted a half-finished 50-foot sport cruiser wrapped in tarps. 2 warm silhouettes, one adult, one smaller, occupied the cockpit under a plastic canopy. The cruiser's name shone dull bronze, SEA change. Vehicles braked in unison, tires spitting gravel. Agents fanned out. I stepped past them, voice steady. I said, "Holloway, you want the money?" I brought the authorizing thumb drive. "Let the kid walk." Echo bounced off mass lines. Holloway's voice answered from under the tarp. He said, "Step aboard alone, actuary, or the boy sails." Alex's muffled shout followed, fears shredding the edge. I walked the gangplank, rainwater slick beneath my shoes, thumb drive clutched, blank except the flare tracker. The tarp parted. Holloway emerged, pistol leveled, beard dripping salt water. He said, "Where's Teresa?" I replied, "Signing affidavits." His jaw twitched. I tossed the drive. It skidded across wet fiberglass but stopped inches from his boot. While he bent to snatch it, Alex bolted from behind the helm, arms zip-tied. I hooked him around the waist, rolled us over the railing into the bay. Bullets cracked above, slapped water behind. Salt filled my eyes, but Alex kicked hard, panic giving power. Agents yelled, spotlights speared the churn. Strong hands hauled us onto a boarding raft. Black Kevlar wove into my vision. Behind us SAA change engines roared half alive. Holloway throttled forward, tarp flapping like wounded wings. The drone feed blurred, pursuing. I heard the crack of a single rifle. The starboard engine coughed, flame burst, smoke spiraled. The cruiser veered, slammed into slip pilings, crunch of fiberglass echoing like bones. On the pier, Alex shivered under a thermal blanket. He said, "Mom set this up?" I replied, "Mom signed a lie, she didn't draft the ransom." He stared at the wreck, pupils blown wide. He said, "Is it over?" I looked toward the burning hull. Fire crews hissed foam onto the deck, no sign yet of Holloway surfacing from black water. I said, "Not until we see a body or a courtroom." Phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number again. New message. "Nice decoy. Money means nothing. Countdown resets at dawn." Accompanying image, a drone's eye shot of our house, graduation banners dripping rain across the porch. Beneath the photo a single caption, 2400 hours. I locked eyes with McIntyre. I said, "He's not finished. He wants spectacle." McIntyre said, "Graduation is tomorrow evening." I replied, "Then dawn buys me 14 hours to end this for good." Alex clutched my sleeve. He said, "Dad, what's the plan?" I answered flat, "The way you recite mortality tables." I said, "We flip his spectacle. We expose every ledger he ever doctored, live, in front of every agency that cares." Alex nodded once, rage and relief blending into resolve beyond his years. Sirens faded, sunrise bruised the horizon purple. I knew Holloway would crawl from any shadow left unmonitored. So I built a shadow of my own. I told McIntyre, "Freeze every account tied to cobalt tides, but leave one loophole, an escrow alias only he believes is safe. Let him reach for that rope." The agent agreed, keystrokes already rattling. I guided Alex to an ambulance for vitals. The medic's penlight glazed his pupils, pronounced them clear. Teresa, handcuffed, watched from a squad car, mascara tracks washed pale. She said, "Did he hurt you?" Alex said nothing. Crew lights flickered off her face. She looked suddenly older, as if betrayal added seasons to her skin. The hospital cleared Alex of shock. I moved him to a federal safe house disguised as a beach rental, marsh grasses hiding the driveway. Surveillance drones perched on roof gutters like metal gulls. Inside I folded the thermal blanket into a square. He would never do it, and handed him a phone programmed with only one number, mine. I said, "Any sound outside, call. I'll answer." I stepped out, sunrise turning wet sand into hammered copper. My phone chimed again, unknown number voice message this time. I pressed play on speaker. Holloway's voice whispered, "You still calculate risk, Mark? Calculate this, 14 hours, for exits, one sun. Choose wrong, watch the house melt." Click. I breathed salt air through clenched teeth. In 14 hours the graduation anthem would soar, cafeterias filled with proud parents. Holloway intended to rewrite that soundtrack with fire alarms. My fingers tightened on the steering wheel, the math aligning like crosshairs. I whispered to no one, "Let's make your countdown count for you, James." Holloway's voice looped in my head. 14 hours, for exits, one sun. Sunrise turned the safe house windows into molten copper. Alex slept in the guest room, heartbeat steady through the baby monitor app I'd rigged from a decommissioned nursery cam. I scrolled FinCEN alerts. At exactly 6:30 a.m., the escrow alias we'd left dangling, Echo Bay Capital, received a query ping from an IP buried in a defunct yacht broker VPN. The fish had sniffed the hook. I said, "Signal confirmed." McIntyre replied over earpiece, "Perimeter teams ready. We need him typing, not running." I said, "He won't run. He wants an audience. Stage 1 demanded public humiliation." I drove to Tampa Federal Annex. A brutalist cube of limestone where the IRS and DOJ share conference rooms smelling of burnt coffee and old subpoenas. Tex erected a portable press backdrop, Department of Justice emblazoned on blue vinyl. Teresa, wrist chained, sat nearby with 2 agents. Her lawyer, court-appointed and already sweating, whispered at her ear. She said, "You're turning my statement into a circus." I replied, "Circus sells tickets, tickets lure clowns." She flinched. Her sworn affidavit detailed every bank credential, passphrase, and offshore account Holloway had forced her to sign. Cameras would broadcast at 10 sharp. Holloway wouldn't resist seeing his empire dismantled live. 9:30 a.m. A new alert flashed. Holloway initiated a transfer from Cobalt Tides to Echo Bay for the exact sum I'd baited, $131,000. DIPAC code embedded in the alias spat back his location, a downtown parking tower, level 8, east corner. Adrenaline tasted metallic at the back of my tongue. I said, "Time to cut the head." McIntyre said, "SWAT is 7 minutes out." I replied, "He won't wait 7. I left Teresa under armed guard and threaded morning traffic toward the tower, heart synchronizing with turn signals. Concrete ramp spiraled upward, every level echoed with tire squeals, but level 8 lay eerily quiet, wind whispering through guardrails. Sea Change's twin outboards, salvaged from the wreck, sat in the bed of a rented flatbed truck. Holloway perched on the tailgate, tablet glowing. A pistol rested beside his knee like a trusted pet. He said, "You starved my accounts." Thought I'd flee? No. I televised my own escape. I replied, "The only broadcast today is your arraignment." He laughed, a sound like snapping sailcloth. He said, "Arrangements, Mark, plural. You froze cash, not loyalty." I glanced around. 2 figures in mechanic coveralls waited near the stairwell exit. His reinforcements. Holloway waved the pistol toward my phone. He said, "Show me Alex." Proof of life. I opened the monitor feed. Alex still slept, oblivious. Holloway smirked. He said, "Cute, but I meant in person. Safe houses have doors." My gut iced. I whispered, "What did you do?" He said, "You hid him behind agents." I bought an agent. The 2 mechanics stepped forward. One raised a burner phone, speaker on. A voice crackled, female calm. "Safe house perimeter secure. Boy is compliant." Uniform codes in the background validated she was indeed in the federal detail. I stalled. I said, "Take the money, disappear." He said, "Too late. I need spectacle." I inched closer, eyes on the pistol. Holloway saw the shift and kicked the weapon toward the guardrail. It skidded, teetered, then vanished 8 stories to asphalt. He said, "Guns are loud, numbers are louder." He tapped the tablet. 1 push and Echo Bay forwards everything to a Belize wallet. Another push tweets your confession to laundering. Want to gamble which I pick? Sirens wailed below, SWAT finally cresting the block. Holloway's thugs drew knives, cheap steel glinting. I said, "Think, James. Livestream ends with you in cuffs or a coroner's bag." He shrugged. He said, "Mathematicians forget variables, grief." He showed his screen, a live feed from Alex's bedroom, red countdown overlay ticking from 5 minutes. Explosive icon pulsed bottom right. My throat closed. I said, "Remote charge? In a safe house?" He said, "EMP ignition microcapsule. Battery powered. Your tax dollars paid for the prototype." I lunged, ramming Holloway with my shoulder. Tablet flew, cracked screen spiderwebbing across concrete. We grappled, training versus desperation. I blocked a knee, drove my elbow under his ribs. He gasped but twisted free, sprinting for the stairwell. His men advanced. I seized a rusty chain tie-down and swung. The first thug crumpled. The second slashed my forearm before Phil's torque wrench, borrowed earlier, connected with his jaw. He dropped. I snatched the shattered tablet. Countdown still running, 4 minutes 32 seconds. GPS beacon traced the bomb signal to a repeater node. Coordinates near the marina, not the house. A bluff. Holloway aimed to drive me to panic, abandon the press event, chase ghosts. I breathed, forced numbers to align. If the node was remote, the device could be jammed. I dialed Ike. I said, EMP microcapsule, trigger channel 49 UHF, jam now. He said, on it. Static hiss erupted through the phone. Countdown froze at 4:01, then blinked error. Below, SWAT boots hammered stairs. I followed blood droplets down the stairwell, Holloway favoring his side, pressing elevator call. I shouted, Alex is safe. Your detonator's dead. He ignored me, dove into the car as doors slid. I slammed against closing steel but caught only my reflection, smeared with rain and blood. Elevator descended. SWAT swarmed the level, secured the unconscious thugs. Team leader said, perimeter closed. Where's primary target? I replied, ground level in 15 seconds. I raced the stairwell, each step a gunshot in my calves. Lobby glass shattered ahead. Holloway barreled through, grabbed a commuter scooter, and darted into traffic. I burst onto sidewalk, lungs burning. Across 6 lanes a city bus squealed. Holloway veered, lost control, skidded, slammed into a light pole. The scooter crumpled. He sprawled, motionless. SWAT piled on. Cuffs clicked. I approached as medics checked vitals. Holloway's eyes fluttered, unfocused. He said, still not enough. Show, everybody. His voice faded. Medics loaded him onto a stretcher, pulse weak but present. I watched the stretcher roll, adrenaline draining like bad fuel. Phone buzzed, unknown number, again. Text read, nice try, but I wrote redundancy plans. Graduation stage will still burn. 12 hours. The screen appended a live image of the auditorium, rows of folding chairs, banner, class of 2027, and a box beneath the podium wrapped in school colors. My blood chilled colder than rain. I whispered, he had partners. McIntyre caught the words, eyes narrowing. He said, graduation in 12. We evacuate? I stared at the photo, front row seats reserved for parents, Alex's name on a placard. I said, no. We finish this where he wants his finale. But we write the script. The auditorium countdown. The bomb under the podium. 10 hours to stop a massacre and turn Holloway's own planning against his unseen accomplices. We had barely 10 hours left. Holloway lay sedated in a federal infirmary, but his final text glared from my phone. Graduation stage will burn. 12 hours. McIntyre's task force ringed the high school campus with unmarked vans and disguised utility trucks, yet we knew every bomb dog and X-ray wand could be chasing a phantom. The accomplice, maybe several, understood police sweeps. They wanted a live audience, a massacre televised. That meant the device had to be small, remote armable, and already inside the building. I stood beneath dripping bleachers, nitro gloves spotted with warehouse blood, and forced my voice level for the recorder. I said, objective pivot, neutralize auditorium device, preserve ceremony, preserve Alex. McIntyre replied over earpiece. Bomb squad ETA 30 minutes. We evacuate students now? I said, no. If the bomber sees an empty parking lot, he switches to plan B. Leave rehearsals running. Replace every staff member with plainclothes agents. First, we needed eyes invisible to a human sweep. Enter Ike Navarro again. He remote patched the school's aging Wi-Fi cameras, elevating resolution from postage stamp to crime scene clarity. Within 10 minutes I could cycle through 4 corridors, 2 trophy cases, and the auditorium catwalk. Nearly 500 folding chairs gleamed under stage spots. The gift-wrapped box still sat beneath the podium skirt. No motion sensors tripped, no RF beyond phones. A perfect decoy or a perfect bomb. I ducked into the AV control booth at the back of the hall. Dust scented of burnt light gels coated the sliders. Teresa, under agent guard and still in handcuffs, waited beside me. She said, "James never mentioned explosives." I replied, "A partner did. Think names, habits." She closed her eyes. She said, "He always took calls at 1 a.m., whispered about the engineer and fail-safe triggers." Accent, maybe Midwestern. I said, "Useful if the voice leaks over radio." Bomb technicians arrived, 3 armored silhouettes hauling Pelican cases. Lead Tech Roland said, "Box size suggests 5 pounds C4 or a lithium halo." He slid a fiber scope beneath the ribbon. Inside crouched a matte rectangle, steel gray, no branding. Roland said, "Lithium above 50 grams yields vapor cloud ignition, flaming air. Detonator hardwired, no transceiver." I replied, "Holloway bragged about remote triggers. Look for a relay." Roland's partner ran a wand. A ping answered 40 feet up in catwalk rigging. High voltage unit disguised as light ballast. Roland said, "Those wires funnel DC charge down the podium mic cable." Somebody planned a microphone detonation when the principal speaks. McIntyre radioed. Principal Burke already replaced by an agent. Ceremony unshifted. I said, "Leave schedule intact." We swap cable inside podium with fiber optic dummy. Bomb still thinks circuit complete. Roland nodded. Techs parted stage skirts, splicing cables with surgeon calm. 9:27, a text pinged, unknown number. Nice lights. We start at noon. Under it live feed from the auditorium, same catwalk angle, timestamp overlay. The enemy saw our cameras, maybe breached Ike's patch. I whispered, "He's inside our mesh." Ike's voice snapped over comms. IP trace bouncing. Final node points 600 feet north of school, back of the baseball concession stand. McIntyre dispatched 2 agents. 30 seconds later we heard shots crack and a radio scream. Agent Howard said, "Officer down, booby-trapped fuse box blew." Static swallowed the channel. Teresa sobbed behind me. I said, "Engineer covers exits. Next fuse box likely auditorium east utility." Tech Roland's eyes widened. That panel sat 2 feet from his equipment bag. I sprinted Roland behind. The utility door was ajar. Inside, copper mains hummed. A blinking red LED stared from a claymore-shaped block taped to the breaker. Roland hissed, "Motion sensor armed. Can't pull back." Eyed the hinge. Door must stay frozen till we jam the sensor. I cupped palms around my smartwatch, set the screen to full brightness, and slid it across the tiles under the beam. Light pulse tricked the sensor into reading continuous baseline. Roland slipped needle-nose pliers under the device, severed power leads. LED died. 9:52. Auditorium filled with students rehearsing processional lines, agents disguised as faculty. Alex entered last row, eyes sweeping empty stage. He spotted me in the booth windows. I forced a quick smile. He tried to return it, but tension bent his mouth crooked. Ike chimed. Engineer's IP hopped again, now reading from auditorium Wi-Fi repeater. He was hiding inside, piggybacking our own feed. We needed a honeypot. I texted Ike. Spin up clone network staff secure with admin backdoor. Set broadcast power high. Within seconds that SSID blinked on. A foreign MAC address latched, device model, rugged tablet, brand used by stage rigging crews. Location triangulation dropped its coordinates dead center catwalk. Spotlights flamed white as tactical lamps pivoted upward. On the catwalk a man in khaki coveralls froze, tablet in one palm, thumb hovering above screen. I activated handheld PA. I said, "You lift that thumb, battery dump will melt your face." He turned slowly, early 40s, sun-spotted skin, prairie accent. He said, "He promised one push for glory." I replied, "Holloway is in custody. His glory is a ventilator." The engineer laughed. He said, "Then mine will be a mushroom cloud of lawsuits. Move and I complete the circuit manually." Roland's thermal camera showed a coin-sized mercury tilt switch inside his tablet case. Shake equals boom. I whispered, "We disable Wi-Fi, leave him blind." I cut power to all routers except our honeypot. Engineer's tablet flashed disconnect alerts. He swore, adjusting grip. Roland mouthed countdown 3, 2, 1. A sniper round from the rear catwalk post punched through the tablet frame, shattering screen and tilt switch before he could jerk. Tablet clattered. Engineer crumpled, shoulder bloom of red. Students screamed. Agents corralled them toward exits, calm voices over crisis script. Roland dashed to the bomb under podium. He removed the lid. Inside, lithium brick awaited arming signal that would never arrive. He clipped the firing line. Device safe. I exhaled air I hadn't known I held for 8 hours. Then my phone vibrated again. Same number. New message. Nice save, actuarial hero. 2 exits down, 2 to go. See you at the after party. Attached was a live drone shot of Tampa Mutual headquarters, my office, parking garage entrance glowing green. A van idled, back doors open. Under the image, countdown 3 hours. 3 hours. McIntyre looked at the screen, jaw clenched. He said, "He planted secondary devices at your company." I replied, "And maybe tertiary at my house. We can't chase each bomb." McIntyre said, "We shelter in place?" I stared at Alex, safe for the moment among agents ushering him toward buses. I said, "No shelter. We draw the puppeteer into one last theater, public, contained camera sync. Let him chase his own fame." Teresa stepped forward, chains rattling. She said, "I'll lure him. He still trusts my fear." I met her eyes. Remorse wrestled vanity. I said, "One microphone detonator was enough. We use your voice differently." Teresa's live stream trap at the graduation ceremony. 3-hour ticking van at Tampa Mutual. Mark orchestrates a double-blind showdown while ensuring Alex crosses the stage alive. 3 hours remained on the drone shot countdown. The van outside Tampa Mutual idled like a loaded syringe, its brake lights pulsing red against the concrete ramp. If I chased that bomb, the puppeteer would strike the graduation. If I hid at the ceremony, he would puncture my colleagues, and every insurance file the IRS now needed. I chose misdirection. I said, "We feed him 2 feeds, 1 real, 1 bait." McIntyre said, "How do you fake a building full of staff?" I replied, "Actuaries love Excel. A loop of last quarter's town hall looks identical on security cams." I patched archived footage of our cafeteria into the Tampa Mutual server, timestamp overlay forged to current time. Any remote voyeur would see bodies moving, coffee steaming. The real building cleared via fire code drill, sprinklers harmlessly triggered to mask egress. The bomb squad slipped into subterranean garage shadows, Geiger counters and vapor sniffers ready. Meanwhile, the high school auditorium buzzed with parents unaware their morning rehearsal had been a live minefield. Graduation remained locked for 7 p.m. Teresa, still cuffed but now wired with a throat mic, became our Trojan horse. She said, "If he hears me beg, he'll come." I replied, "Beg with subtext. Mention a password he thinks only you know." She said, "He called offshore transfers cerulean Sunday. I'll use it." Agent Roland clipped the mic to her pendant. We staged the live stream trap in the guidance office, a cramped room overlooking the parking lot. McIntyre deployed a portable 5G antenna disguised as HVAC ducting. Ike rerouted the puppeteer's last known IP through the antenna with a man-in-the-middle sniffer. When Teresa went live on a blank YouTube channel titled Confession_T, the signal would loop through our decoy network first, enough time to trace. 15:58, 2 hours until the van's clock hit 0. Teresa sat before a guidance computer, webcam blinking. She breathed twice, tears genuine, and clicked. "Go live," she said. "James, I have the drive. They force me. Cerulean Sunday fails tonight unless you help me. Please." Chat disabled. Viewer count climbed 6, 12, 21. I traced inbound IPs, filtering bots. One address bounced through Austrian servers, then resolved to a Florida Department of Transportation vehicle logged as roadworks crew, license for HK271. McIntyre pulled DMV, van match drone shot. I said, same van outside my office. He's watching both streams from his bomb. 17:02, 58 minutes left. Bomb tech Shriver radioed from Tampa Mutual Garage. He said, then interior lined with ANFO barrels, pressure switch tied to rear doors. Opening triggers. I replied, fine tilt sensor? He said, affirmative. Razor thin mercury. We freeze it, but driver seat empty. I said, puppeteer remote arms. Jam cellular around garage. Shriver activated a wideband bubble. The countdown overlay on my phone stalled, blinking searching. In the guidance office viewer count jumped to 98. Teresa's voice cracked on cue. She said, Mark gave them everything. Alex still at school. I need you, James. I whispered, he's not calling. He's coming. McIntyre dispatched 2 undercover cruisers toward Tampa Mutual perimeter. Dash cam streamed to the sniffer antenna. At 17:16 a.m. DOT service truck with license for HK271 rolled past security barricades pretending to check storm drains. Facial rec software matched the driver to Holloway's missing lookout, the engineer we shot on the catwalk? No, his brother, Sam, near identical build. The truck continued downtown, ignored garage entrance, and turned toward the high school service lane. I said, he brings manual trigger here. Alex waited backstage in cap and gown, guarded by 2 plainclothes marshals. I tapped my earpiece. I said, relocate him to orchestra pit trapdoor, level below stage. Secure but visible to CCTV. Alex followed, jaw tight. He said, this will end tonight, right? I replied, one way or another. 17:30. The DOT truck parked beside dumpsters near the gym. Sam stepped out carrying a roadwork case the length of a clarinet. Roland whispered, shape charge size. He could cut load-bearing column and drop the auditorium ceiling. We tracked his radio frequency, half-duplex on FRS channel 6 with burst encryption. Ike scraped decrypted real-time. Sam said, Mother Canary live, proceeding to nest. Trigger on code word. Voice on other end, metallic, strained. Holloway from hospital bed? No, wrong timbre. Possibly, engineer. Speaking through for sedation? Voice said, code word is daybreak. 17:38, graduation lobby lights dimmed for seating. Parents shuffled programs, unaware plainclothes marshals funneled them toward zones with reinforced flooring. Teresa stepped on stage, claims of opening acknowledgments. Camera phones lit. She said, we begin with gratitude. The phrase signaled sweat and catwalk harnesses. Sam pushed through side curtain in utility jumpsuit, ignoring Teresa, heading for column 3 where hollow drywall masked the bomb. Marshal Henley intercepted. He said, crew access closed. Sam stabbed a syringe into Henley's hip, improvised nerve block. Henley collapsed silently. Sam crouched, unscrewing panel screws. Roland via earbud. 10 seconds to column collapse. I whispered, Teresa stall. She spotted Sam, voice shaking. She said, I must read a brief letter from our superintendent. He unfortunately fell ill. Crowd murmured. Sam slid the clarinet case upright, magnet feet clamping steel rebar. He unfolded wires toward the column base. From orchestra pit ladder I crawled under stage, found Sam's cable dangling and snapped a photo, timestamp evidence. He felt the tension shift, looked down. We locked eyes through vent slats. He laughed. He said, daybreak. His thumb hit transmitter. Nothing happened. Ike's jammer bubble cloaked the auditorium, his signal drowned. Sam's eyes widened. He yanked cable manually. Roland dropped from catwalk, tackle driving Sam to ground. The case clattered, lid popping, plastic explosive shaped around copper cone, 9-volt battery dangling. Roland ripped battery free, clipped initiating fuse. Security dragged Sam backstage. Teresa's knees buckled. 2 student ushers grabbed her elbows, thinking it part of ceremony. She regained composure. she said. Applause as our graduates enter. Music cue rolled. Agents nodded. The procession began, Alex last in line, eyes scanning balcony. Audience cheered, ignorant of bomb parts skittering backstage. Phone vibrated, unknown. New text. Plan C. Garage survives, school survives, office next. 30 minutes. At Tampa Mutual Garage, Shriver radioed. Then vibration minimal. Pressure switch still armed, tilt jammed, but it's wired to accelerometer trip at 1900 hours. I replied. Drive van into river, water cushion kills blast. Shriver said. Tilt sensor resets if vertical axis greater than 15 degrees. We need low angle ramp. Phil's warehouse ramp again, portable, heavy. I called him. He said. I'll tow with the Chevelle. He arrived in 7 minutes, ramp chained to his drag car like a mythic plow. Then rolled onto ramp, nose dipping 5 degrees, safe, chain locked. Phil peeled, hauling bomb van toward Hillsborough River. 1902, sunset painted the river copper. Phil reverse ramp, van slid into water, bubbles frothed, then silence. No detonation. Shriver radioed. Hydrostatic pressure likely crushed barrel casings. Device neutral. Back at school, Alex reached podium. Microphone replaced earlier with inert fiber line. He said his valedictorian speech. I watched from wings, blood seeping through gauze on my forearm. Audience applauded, no explosions. Then an amplifier pop cracked overhead, feedback shrieking. Principal's backup PA system, never inspected, surged. Smoke curled from podium vent. Before bomb squad could react, a small tablet-sized block erupted flame, not high explosive but thermite, white-hot sparks gnawing into floorboards. Sprinklers triggered. Panic rolled through crowd. Alex leaped back as molten metal dripped. I charged, tackled him off stage. Roland smothered the remaining flame with suppressant blanket. Thermite meant theatrical distraction, not casualties. Phone buzzed again. Unknown. Grand finale needs darkness. Power grid fails in 5 minutes. North Campus transformer, 50 pounds TNT. Beat that, actuary. Eyes met McIntyre's. We both knew 5 minutes impossible for bomb squad. Only option, cut grid before charge receives current. I said, kill master breaker substation 2 blocks west. We black out ourselves. McIntyre shouted orders. Linemen already on standby through knife switch. Campus plunged into night. Backup generators hummed into half-life lumens. Crowd screamed, but no roar of TNT followed. In total darkness, a single flashlight beam reveals Holloway himself, hospital gown swapped for jumpsuit, inside substation fencing, hand on detonator, shouting. Lights out, last move! You choose who burns. Make it cold, Mark. The campus drowned in syrup-thick darkness, emergency generators coughing half-hearted light into the hallways while parents fumbled for phone flashlights. My earpiece crackled. Lineman Ortega said, Main breaker open. 0 juice to north transformer. No TNT detonation followed. That meant Holloway had lied, or worse, was waiting to trigger manually. McIntyre shouted over static. Teresa secured, engineer stable, auditorium evacuated. Substation perimeter cameras show motion. I replied, I'm closest. I go. He said, tactical 3 minutes out. I said, he counts seconds, I'll spend them. I sprinted across the wet parking lot, shoes slapping puddles that mirrored the moonless sky. My arm burned where the catwalk knife had sliced earlier. Blood seeped through gauze, but I kept pressure with my free hand. Chain link fencing loomed ahead, silhouette of the transformer yard black against black. A single flashlight beam bobbed behind mesh. I ducked low, heart drum rolling in ears, and slipped through a maintenance gap I'd used years ago to retrieve a kid's frisbee. Gravel crunched. I whispered, I'm in. But static swallowed my words. Holloway must have fired a local jammer. He stood 10 yards away, hospital gown traded for county orange jumpsuit, for bruise still purple on his arm. In one fist he clutched a dead man's switch wired to a brick of C4 strapped against the transformer casing. In the other, a handheld camera streamed night vision green to some darknet audience. He said, "Welcome to the encore, Mark. Lights out, last move." I replied, "Your partner's bleeding under federal guard. Your van sits at the bottom of the river. No encore, only credits." He laughed, hoarse. He said, "Credits roll when viewers cry. You decide who burns, your son's school loses power permanently, or your precious actuarial palace levels into paperwork confetti. One word from you and I choose." I scanned the yard, no cover, just transformer fins humming faint residual current. Dead man's switch told me everything. Any lethal shot would jerk his grip, detonate. I needed him to release willingly. I said, "You love calculations? Here's one. That C4 yields a thermal spike loud enough to flatten this yard, but the breaker's open. No arc flash, only shrapnel. You die for a dull thud. Zero audience." He flinched, eyes narrowing. He said, "I'll live stream the spray of your blood instead." I stepped closer, palms empty. I said, "Viewers already #you #botched. Your engineer streamed it all." He survived and talked. Holloway's jaw twitched. He said, "Liar." I replied, "Ask him yourself." I tapped my phone, speaker up. Pre-recorded clip of Sam's pain-racked voice filled the yard. "James, they jammed us." I told them everything. Holloway's pupils shrank. I eased another step, gauging wire slack on his switch. He said, "Stop." I stopped. Rain began again, soft pins on metal. I said, "This rain kills your live stream. Lens fog, no hero angles. But you can still walk, plea bargain, credit for cooperation." He spat rainwater. He said, "You think numbers comfort me?" I replied, "They comfort judges. 10 years instead of life. Alex still graduates. You still breathe." Silence stretched. I saw his trigger hand tremble, blood loss from earlier crash making tendons twitch. Blue strobes flickered outside fence, sweat finally. "Too far for clean shot." I said, "Let me calculate for you." I raised one finger. "Probability of successful blast killing me but leaving you alive? 5%. A second finger. "Probability you drop the switch and surrender, get protective custody, tea every morning? 70. Third finger. "Probability a sniper round splits that wrist before you blink? 98. And tremor in your hand makes odds higher." At that cue a laser dot danced briefly across his knuckles, Roland's overwatch on adjacent roof. Holloway's gaze followed the red dot, fierce slicing bravado. He whispered, "You cold bastard." I replied, "Cold saves lives." He exhaled long, shoulders slumping. He opened his palm, switch dangling by wire. SWAT voice thundered, "Weapon down. Hands above head." He froze, then complied, knees hitting gravel. 2 operators surged, blade cutting wires, yanking him backwards. I exhaled, knees weak. Transformer safe, school lights still dim but a live bomb defused. I keyed radio. I said, "Package secure, repeat secure." Static gave way to cheering on command net. In distance the auditorium generators revved full. Lights bloomed like sunrise inside gym windows. At 7:20 Alex mounted the emergency lit stage, cap dripping, generators whining under bleachers, but the crowd roared louder. He said, "Adversity audits everyone's character. My father taught me that actuarial truth tonight." His voice wavered, then steadied. "We choose how to pay our debts, with fear or with action." Applause thundered, none louder than mine from side wings, gauze still bleeding but heart-thumping whole. Outside, agents loaded Holloway into an armored ambulance, orange jumpsuit slick with rain. He locked eyes with me through tempered glass. He said nothing. Defeat is quieter than threat. Ambulance doors slammed. Backstage Teresa, wrist-free but flanked by marshals, whispered, "I signed away 20 years for a man who gambled lives. I want Alex to know I'm sorry." I replied, Earn that apology on the stand. She nodded, tears rinsing mascara finally clean. Midnight. Safe house living room. Alex slept on couch, commencement robe draped over chair instead of neatly folded, true to form. I recorded post-incident log, voice rough. I said, risk cycle closed. Losses: 1 engineer hospitalized, 1 agent lightly wounded, 0 civilian casualties. Recovery probability normalized. I laid the phone down, stared at city skyline beyond storm-cleared window. Sirens silent, no red countdown. The camera from Holloway's stream pinged confiscation inventory. Evidence sealed, case to go federal. Numbers aligned at last, money recovered, house saved, family fractured yet breathing. Revenge came not with fire, but with balance sheets, wire traces, and cold resolve. I leaned back, pulse finally slowing, and addressed recorder for the final time. I said, end of story. Subscribe if you want more stories about real men who don't scream. They act. Coldly? To the end?